I don't. Hey, welcome everybody.
Hey guys.
We are back. Healthier Ever After. I'm Rick Sorensen.
Greg Camp.
And we are here discussing healthy lifestyles and physiology. For a few weeks, we've been on kind of a kick.
Yeah, we've been talking about all kinds of things, supplements and cortisol. And today we want to talk about something totally random and different.
Yeah.
I mean, all
but
connected.
Not so random. Yeah, all connected.
Yeah.
So we've really talked a lot about, this all started with weight loss. That's the big thing that we started with is weight loss, and it's kind of evolved into the Healthier Ever After thing came and evolved as we have talked about this, and with patients and people trying to lose weight. Really, the big kind of overall thing is this isn't just about a number on a scale. How do we make this a healthy thing? And what's our real goal? And how do we sustain this? How do we make the changes that we need to lose some weight? Get a good number, be healthier, and then how to maintain that so that it can become the ever after for the rest of your life. Yeah.
Because Rick was just talking about this before we went live at the end of the day, if losing weight alone is the only goal, you don't care, you just care about that number on the scale. Rick had actually a really good thing that he had thought of, so I'll let him say it. But it's just, if all you care about is the weight on the scale, there's a lot of ways we can get you to that weight.
Yeah.
So
So I'm sitting there thinking about this, and I the image came to my mind of the statue of David. That Michelangelo statue or other statues, and it's interesting. I've been to. I always had this fascination, like from a little kid, a fascination with Carl Bloch and his paintings. And he was a Danish painter, and my ancestors came from Denmark, and I always actually got to go there, and I always wanted to see those. And they have a castle there that you can tour and see all these Carl Bloch paintings. But they also have then this whole museum for Thorvaldsen. He's a Danish sculptor, and he's made some real famous sculptures. And it got me thinking about that. The sculpture, the Michelangelo David came to mind on the sculpture, and I thought, okay, I could take a rock. I could take a big marble rock that weighs, 2 tons, right? Sure. And I could hack at it and with a hammer and bust off a bunch of pieces and have it weigh, I don't know, a ton and a half instead of 2 tons.
Yeah.
Right. And so I've got 25% of the weight. I've lost weight. Right. And now I have this marble rock.
It's still a block.
It's still a block, and it looks like nothing.
Yeah.
But it weighs less. Right. That's not what we're trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
Like that's like starving yourself and losing some weight and losing some muscle and losing body water, all the things.
We can chop off your leg,
right?
And you're going to weigh 50, 60, 70 pounds less, but you
don't
have a leg.
Don't have a leg. Right. And so that's kind of the analogy that I was thinking of. I kept thinking, well, you know what, that's what we're trying to do when we're losing weight and we're talking about healthy lifestyle changes is we want to pick away gently and meticulously and intentionally at those parts that we want to get rid of and maintain the others. You want to keep the beautiful form that lives inside that rock and get rid of that outside couple little things that make it look like that. So that's kind of, that came to me. And I'm like, that's really what we're trying to accomplish.
Well, I think it's such a good analogy because it's just, we're methodically doing this. This is not something that you can do overnight. Once again, you can chip away a big chunk of rock from just a big piece of rock so quickly. You can go on a starvation diet. You can do a lot of things and try to take shortcuts. But at the end of the day, if your goal, which I think is most of our goal, is to truly actually carve out something that's better, not just weighs less, but actually is better, then I think that it's such a good, it's like, you can imagine it just takes so much more time and intricacy and work and all these things to create one of these beautiful statues than it would to just chip away the rock. If you just want to chip away the rock, you probably ignoring everything we're saying.
Yeah. So I think the key would be, I would say it is we're not just worried about the number on a scale. We're worried about how your body functions and how your body feels.
Yep.
And then how to maintain that for a long term. So what we want to talk about today is the GLP-1 medications. And that's some specific things. And we've had episodes on this, and this is something that is popular. People are using this to lose weight and a lot of other things. We certainly recommend. I mean, it's something that has to be prescribed. You should be talking to a medical provider because this is something you should have prescribed by a medical provider. What we say here shouldn't replace your relationship and conversations with your medical provider before starting any medication, supplement, health regimen, or weight loss program.
Yeah.
So with that being said, we're going to talk about kind of the medications that we've talked about. GLP-1, so semaglutide, Tirzepatide, and we're even going to mention Retatrutide. So semaglutide is kind of, well, let's talk about kind of specifically, but what they do in your body and really why they're different. So semaglutide is kind of the first thing, and the way to think about these is they mimic things that your body already has. So semaglutide is what's called a GLP-1, and it's like a key to a lock. It's an analog. So your body makes it's called a glucagon-like peptide.
Yeah.
So there's hormones in your body that cells have receptors for, and you can think of that as the cell is like a lock, and the hormone is a key. And semaglutide, turns out all these medications are analogs. So that's like a copycat key. Right. So it's not the thing your body makes, but it unlocks the same lock on the cells. And so semaglutide is a GLP-1 agonist, meaning it's a copycat key of glucagon. Right. And so it works on those receptors. It unlocks that lock. And we're going to talk about kind of what that specifically does. So it's Ozempic, Wegovy, Rybelsus, those are sort of the brand names of semaglutide, and it's a copy of that GLP-1.
And it's by itself. So GLP-1 meaning that like there's no other. We'll talk about
the only lock that unlocks.
It's the only thing that's in there. Now, don't get me wrong, that's a big one. This is where really like a lot of these medications got going. So I don't want to downgrade that, but I mean, as you know, technology and medicine and advances and things like that, and we look more into these. We've just found that there's other options, other keys that you can put with this that really can a lot of times have different, or we'll call it better effects, but enhanced effects. And so so the GLP-1 does a lot of the work, a lot of the legwork.
Yeah. So the glucagon-like peptide is what it's an actual thing that your body makes.
Yep.
And real GLP-1 that your body makes, it gets chopped up in a couple minutes. Your body makes it, it uses it, does its thing, and it's a quick enzyme. It's a quick key, and it disappears. Your body chews it up with an enzyme. So what happens is the GLP-1 agonist, the semaglutide, it unlocks the same lock, but it's been formulated so that it's not broken down as easily by that enzyme that breaks down your the real key.
Yeah.
Right.
So instead of being in your system for a couple minutes, you've felt GLP-1 in your body before. Let me tell you when you felt it. You ate a really big meal. You got to that point where you probably went beyond where you were hungry. And now you have that big effect of like, oh, I need to go lay down. I mean, they just brought out the pumpkin pie after Thanksgiving dinner, and I just honestly
I got to eat it later.
Yeah, I have to eat it later. It's just I can't fit another bite in here. Yeah. That feeling you have actually is when your body's finally caught up and released some GLP-1. Now, why does it go away later that day, even within a couple hours? Because you only got that effect for a little while to slow everything down, to let your body process some food and stop you from eating for a moment. And then what happens, right? You're hungry again 2 hours later, and now you're going again, and rinse and repeat. What they did is someone really smart, much smarter than me, figured out how to take that GLP-1 and make that analog last for about 7 days.
Yeah. So rather than being broken down in a couple of minutes, the copycat key, the semaglutide that you inject once a week, usually, that's kind of the normal schedule, once a week. It can't be grabbed by that molecule that breaks it down. So it hangs out, it stays in your body, and like 7 days later, you still have half that dose still working.
Yeah.
The half-life is about 7 days. So it stays in your body a lot longer. That's why it's effective, and you don't need to like constantly eat it. If you were just taking GLP-1 that your body makes, you would need to have a constant infusion all the time.
Yeah.
To have it have the same effect. So that's why it's effective. That's why it's helpful. That's why it's a once a week thing. And that's how all of these really work, is they make these copycat keys that open the locks. So the one lock, the GLP-1 lock, is what semaglutide unlocks. And
kind of the most popular lock up to date. I mean, once again, there's all these new ones out. We're going to talk about them, but the GLP-1 of this, I really feel like this is the one ingredient in all of these newer medications that we're going to be talking about. The one ingredient that like you can't do without, like the other ones without the GLP-1. I feel like it's the one thing that
this is the must have.
Yeah. It's what makes everything else work.
Yeah. Yeah. And the way it does that. So the keys that it unlocks are different parts of the body, different cells in different parts of the body have these receptors, have these locks that the GLP-1 unlocks. So different areas. So for the brain example, the brain has GLP-1 receptors or locks that medication unlocks. And when it opens that lock, it turns down your appetite. It turns down that's what people talk about, the food chatter, the
food noise,
noise. And it quiets that down in the brain.
Yeah.
Right.
I know. So that's just it. It takes down that drive. People talk about whether it's appetite or cravings or, things like that. And when that's quieter, boy, I can make much better decisions about my eating when that chatter, that noise, as we commonly refer to it as, is quieter.
Yeah. Yeah. And then it also works in the stomach.
Yep.
Right.
So slows gastric emptying. So normally your body is processing and burning through that food quickly. It's why if you've ever eaten a plate of food, or, if you've had 3 bowls of cereal and you're like, wait a minute, like that would like kind of fill my stomach, wouldn't it? Because your stomach's fairly big, but like sometimes we consume more than maybe we imagine our stomach could hold. And we usually do. And the reason why, if you overeat, we can consume that amount is because your stomach's normally processing and burning through that food pretty quickly. Now imagine I take it and say, hey, stomach, rather than keeping on forcing food out the other end into the small intestines, we're going to slow you down so that the food can actually fill the stomach. Once the stomach gets full, I'm telling you, all of a sudden you're like, no more, I'm not eating another bite. Like your stomach is not moving food through it. And so you can actually feel the stomach. So when we say slows gastric emptying, that's what we're talking about. We want to slow the processing of food and that's what GLP-1 does.
Yeah. And it makes it so that you don't have to like overeat and fill the stomach. I mean, your stomach feels full and it stays full longer. It's like
longer and quicker.
It's like if you have some super efficient kid in the mailroom, right? And mail's coming in and he's like distributing it out, getting it out.
Yep.
And what this does, it tells him, hey, I want you to slow down. I want you to open all the envelopes neatly, unfold them, set the letters on each person's desk. So the flow through the mailroom, you're going to get all this stuff in, and it's not going to leave the mailroom quickly. That's what you're telling the stomach. It's like, hey, really, you got food, and rather than just like get it going, get it to the intestines, start digesting this stuff, get it out. It's like, you know what, I'm going to just hold on to this for a little while and let it stay here, and we'll just sort it out and get it going slower. And what that does to you is you feel that your body's like, I'm not going to fill more stuff in my stomach because it's already got stuff in it.
So eventually you stop putting as much mail over there because he's
sending mail.
Still doing his thing. It's just at a slower process. And so, you really if you keep on putting mail in that mail room, it's going to build up and then you're going to not feel very good. So it's at the end of the day, it really is just slowing things down by design, right?
Yeah.
It's going to help with, so we're talking about insulin and glucagon.
So the pancreas is the third kind of big area that have these receptors, and it's actually 2 things. The pancreas releases insulin, and so what the GLP-1 agonist, this key, hits that lock on the pancreas, and it tells the pancreas that it releases more insulin, but only when the blood sugar is high. So this is interesting because it's not all the time. So that's why it helps your body keep like sugar spikes but it's not going. It doesn't make your blood sugar go low because your pancreas is like, I'm not going to. If it's low, I'm not releasing extra, but it releases extra when it's high. So it's
I get this question sometimes for people that dive into the research and they start, they don't have a medical background. They'll sometimes ask me like, I don't get it. I don't know, the GLP-1s, like they help me lose weight, but from what I can understand is like the GLP-1 part of this is that you release more insulin. Not necessarily. What you do is it's timely release of insulin. So, insulin, if it's really, insulin is very important and can be a great tool if it's released in a timely manner. Now, if we just turn on the insulin and don't turn it off, if you just turn on the faucet and just say go, now, of course, you're going to release way too much and you're going to end up storing a lot more than you want to. So insulin is actually like, as long as it can be timed. So the GLP-1 is not so much that it releases more insulin. In some cases, it might if it needs to, but it does it in a timely manner. So therefore, you're not, you're really not exhausting these beta cells, which is what eventually leads to insulin sensitivity, or excuse me, insulin resistance, not sensitivity.
We talked about that.
Yeah. And so really what it is that what I love about these is that, yes, can they release in more insulin release, but actually in a more timely manner. And what's nice is that they're glucose dependent. So what's nice about this is like, rather than just a medication that just floods the system with insulin all the time, it really waits for the glucose to spike.
Yeah. So I mean, I would phrase that like this. It makes the pancreas more appropriately responsive to glucose and insulin release.
And that's ultimately what we want, right? When we're
to work hard when it has to, and not detrimental overwork when it is not supposed to.
Yep. Yeah, because just releasing insulin all the time is not the answer, right? Because otherwise you just take insulin and lose weight. But it's actually tends to be the reason why type 1 diabetics struggle with this is because they're constantly battling this. And you're never, I don't care what glucose pump you have, I don't care how you inject your insulin, you're never going to be able to time it as good as your body does. They do it enough.
They do a pretty good job.
They do a pretty good job, but it's
not going to be extremely vigilant.
Yep. It's not going to be as good as your own body functioning and doing this. And that's not anything against type 1 diabetics. Type 1 diabetics do fantastic on GLP-1s.
Yeah.
But it's through different things, different reasons.
And then the other thing in the pancreas is the glucagon. You get a less of a glucagon release after meals, which really the effect of that is that the liver stops dumping extra sugar into the blood.
Yeah.
It's like it's essentially the signal there is let's use the energy from the food you just ate first, and not give me extra stuff to worry about and then end up storing. So
your liver releases
energy use.
Yeah, your liver releases sugar, which is what we call glucagon. It releases glucagon. So your pancreas glycogen, excuse me. I'm saying that wrong.
They're all close.
I get the two. I get those crossed all the time. Glycogen, excuse me. But glucagon is released from the pancreas.
Yeah.
And when you slow down that, you just don't pump out as much from the liver, which is a good thing because then you're
using your food that you ate.
Yes.
Instead of stuff that you don't need to.
Yeah. And lo and behold, you combine all these things.
Yeah.
And it is this kind of beautiful mastery of your body of saying, hey, we're going to eat less. We're going to use the food that we are putting in as energy rather than just dumping extra sugar from the liver.
Right.
And then we're going to have timely insulin release. And it really just gets your body working very well.
Yeah. So in summary, semaglutide turns down the hunger in the brain. It slows the stomach, so you eat less without having to kind of white knuckle it, and it steadies the blood sugar while it's doing that.
Love it.
Okay, so that's the four things: your brain, your stomach, your pancreas on the insulin side, and your pancreas on the glucose side. That's where these locks live. And studies have shown that semaglutide users, they lose about 15% of their body weight. Some people that started a little higher had 20% fewer heart attacks, strokes, and cardiovascular death. So anyway, a whole other episode on that we did. So anyways, that's number one. So that's the semaglutide. It's the one key copycat.
Yep.
Okay. Then we got tirzepatide. Oh, let me just mention though, one of the downsides of the semaglutide is that it tends to cause some nausea, causes some GI upset, constipation, diarrhea, one, both, other. It's interesting because the same patient, one week to the next will have, I was constipated, now I got diarrhea. it's weird.
It is. It's hard. It's hard to sometimes find that balance between getting the effects you want without some side effects. Really, everything you're experiencing is a side effect of the medication. We're just trying to have more of the good side effects, less of the bad ones. Sometimes it's hard to find that balance. We are going to do an episode. If it's not the next one, it'll be coming up shortly about dosing. We'll talk microdosing.
Oh my goodness, it's so dangerous sometimes.
And we'll talk about obviously with all medications, keeping this. The trials had to do a very set, pattern upward. We're going to talk about actually what we see anecdotally and really what's kind of out there already of not necessarily having to increase your dose.
Right.
Or if you're using a compounded version of not even having to go to that next dose up that was done in the trials, actually going up very slowly and methodically.
Well, and one of the reasons we usually, any of these medications, we start and go very slowly. Like the ramp up is 4 months. Sometimes because of the side effects. So that's one of the big things that Tirzepatide has fixed. So Tirzepatide is a molecule that does the same thing. It opens that GLP1 lock in the body, and it opens what's called a GIP lock. So it's one key, one copycat key that opens 2 separate locks.
Well, it's 2, right? So it's a GLP1 and a GIP.
It opens both of those locks.
So it's both the locks.
Yeah. Single molecule with 2 jobs. Yeah. So the GIP, that one, most people historically it's called the gastric inhibitory polypeptide. I think it's I got to write it down. It's the glucose dependent insulinotropic polypeptide. So anyway, the GIP, it's a different molecule. We'll talk about what that second lock does. So it does all the same things, open all the same locks in the brain and the stomach and the pancreas with insulin, pancreas with glucagon. It does all those same locks. What it also does then, it opens that second lock. That in the brain, it works on the nausea center. It looks like there's some good information that helps us understand that the second lock in the brain helps to calm that queasy response. So that's why a lot of times when people can't tolerate semaglutide because they're getting so nauseated, Tirzepatide is the next step up because it tends to control that quite a bit better. It turns that part down, the nausea down. So that's one effect.
It just really seems to patients, generally speaking, tolerate this much better than semaglutide. I mean, I have some patients that still love semaglutide or on semaglutide and do great with it. And if that's good for them and it's working for them, there's no problem with that. But the next level of this is obviously those 2 peptides are a dual peptide or 2 keys. So instead of just using 1 key, now we have 2 keys that are working towards the same goal. And because they can work towards the same goal, it's like you don't have to have that higher level of GLP-1. It actually is like the GIP peptide and the GIP and the GLP-1 can be more right here and work towards the same process. So it's a lot of times that we get more benefits and less side effects.
And so the second thing that second lock does, the GIP lock, it helps fat cells work their job better. They pull fat out of the blood and store it in the right place and don't overstore. And so it really, the way to think about it is it does the same thing. That first lock, it helps the body eat less. And the second one helps it not have the bad side effect and to manage energy and fat management better, I guess is what I would say that.
I mean, and this is where what I kind of think of with this is I've had some people say, well, if you just took a GLP-1 and you ate exactly the same, you wouldn't lose weight. That's not actually what we see in practice. What we find is, and now granted, you usually don't eat the same because, your appetite's down, your cravings are down, you're slowing gastric emptying. But even let's just say that someone ate the exact same amount of food, if they could stomach that, and they didn't change anything else, they just started taking Tirzepatide. We're not promoting this. We want them to make the lifestyle changes and do all these things. But I'm just saying, theoretically, if you didn't change a thing, you just took the medication. There are some patients that even kind of had admitted 6 months down the road when they were in my clinic, they're like, look, I didn't change a whole bunch, to be honest with you, in the beginning, but I was still losing weight. The reason why is because, I mean, what is your body doing with the calories that you put in right now? We become very good at storing and very bad at losing. And a lot of times what these peptides do, and in this case, these 2 keys, is they just do a really good job of helping the calories go where you want them to go, helping with the spikes in blood sugar and insulin and help regulate that better. So in a lot of cases, a lot of people won't make immediate changes when they first start these. And I'm finding that a lot of them still end up having some good effectiveness and weight loss. You wouldn't think that that would happen based on, hey, it's just helping your body do these things better. It does. I mean, I've seen it over and over again.
Yeah. So at the physiologic level, you get those effects on that first set of keys. That second set of keys, what this second key really brings is you get a stronger insulin signal. The GIP also it signals insulin. So those two together is better than either one alone as far as your body managing its insulin spike. They work as a pair. They get a bigger and faster insulin response than either one alone. It causes your fat to work better. And this is actually, I think, what surprised some of the researchers when studies have been done is that your fat cells have these GIP locks on them that get unlocked. And essentially it lets your fat do its job better. So like healthy fat takes fat from the bloodstream and stores it in the right place instead of letting it pile up in the liver, in the muscles. You get people who have like fatty liver disease. That's because their body hasn't handled fat as a molecule, and it kind of tucks it away in the corners. It's like having your dirty socks all over the house.
That's a good comparison.
Stuff them under the pillow, stuff them under the couch. You get your dirty socks everywhere.
Yeah.
And instead of putting them in the hamper, and then figuring out what to do with that all at once, that's kind of what it's doing. It's taking the fat molecules and putting them in the right place in the fat cells that are supposed to handle them, and not like putting them in the liver, putting them in the muscle, stuffing them in the corner. It makes for a healthier function in your body.
That's great. It really does. I mean, and so it truly is. Yes. Instead of sticking the laundry on the bed to be folded, like it actually, like now it's getting folded and put in the drawers, and it's just organizing it better. It doesn't necessarily mean there's less, but it means that it's now been organized in the body, and then frankly more usable. Right.
Your body can use like I need a pair of socks and a new shirt. Where I go to the sock drawer and the shirt drawer, not under the under the cushion in the couch or wherever. And then the other thing is you get less nausea for the same power. So it's been really helpful, and that's why Tirzepatide has it is more effective.
It is more effective. It's shown in the studies. We see it in clinic. It's more effective because of the two peptides working together. So it's less side effects, generally speaking. Stronger, generally speaking, so more effective. And so, I mean, who doesn't take that deal? It's like all the good with middle. Now, it generally speaking in the studies, they kind of list the same general side effects. We just find that they're much less common.
Much less common.
And then when you have something that's working better for you at similar doses, I mean, who's
and those two keys kind of the weakness of each one is the strength of the other one. So they work together really well.
That's a good point.
Have shown, people rather than 15%, people lose about on average 21% of their body weight on that. So it's that's how I say more effective, and it's a lot less side effects. So then we have Retatrutide, and that's actually not a product that we can talk about it here a little bit, but it is not approved by the FDA.
No, not yet.
It's still undergoing trials and studies. It unlocks 3 keys. So Retatrutide, and honestly, Eli Lilly is developing this, and we could talk about a little bit. I mean, I think they're up to some shenanigans, but I think they're trying to classify this as a biologic before it gets approved, which would make it impossible for compounding pharmacies to make a version of this if it ever was in a shortage, kind of like they do with the Semaglutide and the Tirzepatide. Is that kind of? I'm not a lawyer. I don't understand all the.
And I'll just make a statement that is just my opinion. With the skepticism of big pharma right now, right? Like there's not a lot of people in the world right now that are like big fans of big pharma because of what they've done with medicine and healthcare and the cost and all that stuff. And as if you needed one more reason to it's almost like instead of taking that cue and going, you know what, we've won enough. We're billion, we have $1 billion, $1 trillion companies. We don't need to have 2 trillion, 1 trillion enough. They just doubled down on stuff like this. Right. They've taken Retatrutide. They saw what happened with Semaglutide and Tirzepatide, and they essentially got compounders can make them legally. Right. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to get Retatrutide, the 3 key one that we're going to talk about now, And they're finding that the studies are really great on this. And so what they're trying to do is hold off on the release of it to try to get the FDA to approve Retatrutide as a biologic. All that means to you is that it's a compound that can't be, it has a stronger copyright, so compound pharmacies can't make it legally.
Right. So it makes it harder. And yeah, it's anyway. So Retatrutide not approved yet, working on approval. And honestly, it looks like, you know, I mean, Eli Lilly probably dragging their feet a little bit on getting it approved because they're making a ton of money on Tirzepatide.
Absolutely.
Right. Why do we want to put a new thing on that is going to be better than the thing we're already killing it,
making
with,
a bunch of money
right?
on? And I mean, their release is like, yeah, it's very, yeah,
but it's going to be submitted, and I anticipate it's going to be approved at some point somehow.
It will.
So it does the GLP1 and the GIP. It does it, but it has their copycat. The Retatrutide copycat key opens a third the glucagon lock, and so what that adds to what we've already talked about with the Tirzepatide is it works on the liver, helps burn fat instead of storing it. And so fat inside the liver drops. That's healthy in numerous ways. We did a whole episode on liver health. And then the whole body, it increases your resting metabolic weight. So you burn more calories just by existing. We've talked about that as well. Like there's, you know, your resting metabolic weight, the Retatrutide increases that. So just by doing nothing, you're going to burn a few more calories. And in combination with all these other things, those other two locks, opening those three, becomes more helpful.
So the reason why Retatrutide has been found to be so effective so far, I mean, kind of like the theory behind all of this is that you have the other two keys that are doing all these fantastic things about managing your sugars and turning down your appetite and slowing gastric emptying. And they're just working as this fine-tuned machine. But what they didn't have is they didn't have the ability to, while they're doing that and you're decreasing your calories, what would add to that to be able to help your body, help with muscle retention and help with like burn that fire a little hotter, meaning to burn more calories on any given day? Well, add glucagon.
Yeah.
So glucagon, if you just gave someone glucagon, your body actually does this on a regular basis with no medications. Glucagon by itself, probably, really it's enhanced by being added to these other two. It's just a beautiful combination. The three keys all working together on these different things. It truly just ends up kind of giving like fuel to the fire that you're like, hey, I'm going to decrease the amount of firewood that I'm putting in the fire so that I can lose some weight that way. And now we're saying, and now I'm going to put fuel in the fire so we can then burn it more quickly.
Faster, burn hotter.
Yep.
So yeah, that's great. So, and realistically, like we anticipate this will be approved as a medication. It is not currently. You cannot legally get this. There's all kinds of online stories, but we're not going to recommend it at this point. But again, we anticipate that it will. And realistically, we're looking at like 2027, possibly 2028 for an approval from the FDA. And however that comes about, we'll keep an ear to the ground on that. What it did show is even more weight loss. So extremely effective in some of these early trials. And there are ongoing trials. There's multiple other studies going on, but adults in some phase 3 obesity trials lost 28%, some up to 30% of their body weight over 80 weeks. So that's, and this is not short-term stuff. This is like a year and a half, just over a year and a half is the length of these studies. But 30%, 28%, 30% of your body weight compared to 21 on Tirzepatide, 15 on Semaglutide. So very effective in the early trials, not approved yet, but it's because it uses 3 keys. So anyway, that's a rundown.
That's how it breaks down. I want to
1,
point
2,
out
3 key model.
Yeah. And really, I mean, when the Retatrutide, of course, gets closer to release, we'll talk more about that and all that stuff. But, I want to point out that that's all that you're seeing here is that you're just seeing that we figured out this peptide thing is pretty amazing and awesome and how much benefits people can have. And me and Rick, I think I could speak for Rick to say we're big fans of course, the GLP1s and peptides in general of like, hey, how can we help people? How can we enhance our lives by using these medications? But, it's important to point out that when Semaglutide came out, we'd seen nothing like it. And it was in the teens for weight loss in the teens percentile.
Yeah.
And now you got something like Retatrutide that's in like
pushing
30%.
30%.
I mean, at the time that semaglutide came out, there was nothing even close
Yeah. So,
to as effective as it.
so what 30% means is, if you weigh 300 pounds, that's pretty heavy for most people. That's losing 90 pounds.
Unreal.
On average.
Yeah. I mean, we have not seen anything like it. And so comparing that to semaglutide, that would be like maybe 40 pounds or 50 pounds. And then Tirzepatide a little bit more than that, right? So you're saying 60 or 70 pounds. Now you're saying on Reta more like 90 pounds. And we're seeing anecdotally that oftentimes that this is more than that.
Yeah.
I mean, that you can really enhance that. You take a person that goes from 300 pounds to 200 pounds, given the right context, they're working out, they're eating right, all that other stuff. I mean,
they're chiseling correctly.
Yes. You're not just a big block, right? You're chiseling the Michelangelo. I really think it ultimately, I mean, this is life-changing stuff.
Yeah.
Go ask a guy at 300 pounds and at 200 pounds how they feel at the difference between the two.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not even going to be close.
Not even close. Yeah. So that's what we're hoping for. And again, most people, you don't need to lose 100. If you lose the 40, use the 50, lose the 60, whatever it is, but doing it in a healthy way and then doing it in a sustainable way is what's going to make you healthier ever after.
Absolutely.
And with that, I guess we'll end our story on the 3 keys, the 1, 2, and 3 key versions of the GLP-1 medications. And we'll be back.
Yeah.
Stay healthy.